People often say Rwandans enjoy comic, light, and unserious content. We refuse to believe that. The Voices podcast is here to help you get all the information you need if you are one of those people that are interested in informative, educative, and inspirational content. The Voices podcast is hosted by Arafat. We're here to give you all the information that you've been yearning to get in Rwanda. If you're one of those people, then welcome to the Voices podcast. Yeah, the Voices podcast. Edie, we've seen that Cape Verde and Seychelles come ahead of Rwanda. And of course, when you move on the streets there, we know that Rwanda is really considered to be free from corruption.
I don't think so. We are not free of corruption.
Otherwise,
we would close our doors as Transparency International, the Office of Ombudsman, and other institutions.
That's like when you hear people talking about us, they tend to say that Rwanda is not corrupt. There's no corruption in Rwanda.
No, there is. We can't hide any truth in this regard. Otherwise, because corruption. The ranking, the CPI ranking does not measure a country free of corruption.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us once again on the Voices podcast. Today, we are honored. Today, we are joined by the Executive Director of Transparency International Rwanda and also the board member of Transparency International. Today, he joins us to discuss on the recently published corruption Perception Index of 2025, where Rwanda ranked actually 41 and ranking 58 out of 100. Today, we look at those numbers, looking at the improvement that we've made, and also talking about where are these improvements coming from. What are some of the new strategies, new policies that were put in place to make sure that these numbers continue to scale up. Most of the countries that were known for performing well, they poorly performed this time, and Rwanda continued to scale up. So we are looking at all that today with the Executive Director of Transparency International Rwanda. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Voices podcast, E.T.
Thank you, Arafat, for inviting me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
How is life? Is life good?
Yes. When you see things changing in a positive note, especially in your primary work, anti-corruption fighter, it's encouraging. So things are positive.
Yeah. So, Ed, today, since when you released this report, and we saw that Rwanda performed very well. So, to someone who does not understand what is this index or Corruption Perception Index, CPI, what it means, what would you tell them? And why do you have it every year?
Thank you very much. The Corruption Perception Index is a product of our global movement, Transparency International, and it is produced by our International Secretariat in Berlin. It started to be produced since 1995, since the establishment of Transparency International. And basically the CPI, since it has been launched, it positioned itself as one of predominant tool that is reliable to measure corruption all over the world in many countries, and of course it has this particularity to gather or to aggregate information from various countries and be able to measure the progress or the decline of the countries in regard to preventing and fighting corruption. So it's a perception-based index, but its methodology and the way it is produced provides a overall picture or a kind of the trend of the countries that are ranked. For this last edition, the 2025, 182 countries were ranked and scored according to how they are performing in preventing and fighting corruption in the respective countries.
Director, Rwanda performed actually well because it ranked 58 from 57 and 41 up from 43, showing a difference of 3 positions. Actually, Rwanda came to 41 from 43. And for me, I keep asking one question. What is it that we are doing better? What is it that, according to you, because you said you're also a board member of Transparency International, and up there in your meetings, perhaps there's something that comes up about Rwanda? Because now when you look at how other countries globally are performing, they're showing a decline.
Sure.
What are some of the key elements, key strategies that are bringing Rwanda up in these positions? Because Rwanda is not slowing down. Other countries have slowed down and other countries have stayed where they were. But Rwanda is going up. What is it are we doing better?
Yeah, thank you. First and foremost, I want to bring the overall picture in the CPI scoring. It's appeared for this 2025 CPI edition that many countries performed bad in terms of preventing corruption. Let's take in the old democracies that's usually scoring well. We found that usually they are above 80 out of 100, but for this specific edition, only 7 countries scored above 80, which is really a very bad score. And when we look to the overall average worldwide, or at least for the 182 countries which were ranked, or the overall average is 42%, which is the lowest average that has been gathered since the 1995 CPI Corruption Perception Index have been started. And for the Sub-Saharan Africa countries, the regional average is 32 out of 100%, which shows that corruption in many countries, many countries ranked, is more than endemic. It's systemic. And when we look to the global ranking as well, we find that 2 out of 3 countries, 2/3 of the countries are scoring below of 50%, which is again another figure which calls for serious attention in regard to the magnitude of corruption worldwide. So coming to Rwanda, it's encouraging to see Rwanda since 2022. Rwanda was steadily improving its score. I can say it's an exception because in 2022 Rwanda scored 51%, while 2023 Rwanda scored 53. In 2024, 57, as you mentioned, while in the last edition that we published this month, it is scored 58. It shows continuous improvement, even though the increase of percentage is low. But again, as I said, it is a perception-based index, and you are aware, as I am, Arafat, that perception, to change a perception in a positive way, it takes time. One of the previous researchers on CPI, known as Johan Graf, used to be one of the leading researcher on CPI before Transparency changed the methodology. He said that if an improvement of 1% in CPI scoring, it is equivalent to almost 4% of direct investment on GDP in a specific country, which means that the CPI is really a tool where improving with 1% means a lot. And this is why even for Transparency International research team included Rwanda among the countries which are steadily improving their scoring in CPI, and of course a praised country in this anti-corruption fighting, especially more particularly in Rwanda.
So looking at Rwanda, the perception about corruption, you would want it to go maybe to 100. I mean, we are not happy that we are just 58. We would love to be 70. Is it no 58?
Yes.
But we would love to have it at 100. I think so. What do you think the public is not doing to ensure that this perception goes up and we perhaps continue to rank? Because I think the ranking, the position comes from how other countries have performed. But the ranking out of 100, what do you base on? Because now we need to understand, someone might say that, sincerely speaking, how do they get those numbers? How do we get to the ranking? Because we are 41, and I've mentioned that in Africa we are third, and in East Africa we are the first. So how do you get to these numbers? How is the ranking done?
Thank you very much for this very interesting question. The CPI index is an aggregate of other source of data that are collected country-wide. For Transparency International, it uses at least 13 source of data of think tank research firms. I can give some examples. Bertelsmann Foundation Transformation Index, World Economics Intelligence Unit Country Rating, World Bank Governance Index, Variety of Democracy, World Economic Forum, to mention but the few. It's 13 source of data that Transparency International uses to rank the country. At least for a country to be ranked on the CPI ranking and scoring, Transparency International, the country need to provide at least 3 sources of data of each country to be ranked on the CPI scoring. For Rwanda, at least for Rwanda, 7 sources of data of information were used when ranking Rwanda. So for this specific edition, we think with the 7 sources of information out of 13 sources, while for a country we need at least 3 sources of information, I think it's enough to give the overall, the broad picture on how the country is performing in terms of preventing and fighting corruption. There are some specific forms of corruption that are measured through the CPI. It's the CPI measures how the country is preventing and fighting the bribery. Bribery is one form of corruption which happens when a citizen requests service and service provider asks, for example, to pay money. It's a monetary bribe. Diversion of public funds. A public office holder misuses office and he divert public funds. Nepotism in the civil service, state capture, enforcement of integrity, how corruption is prosecuted, existing of anti-corruption law, just to mention the few criteria or indicators that are collected on the country to consolidate and aggregate and come up with the index. So those forms of corruption or indicators are measured by various sources of information that are used by Transparency International. You'll find that one think tank, for example, is looking how the country is performing in terms of fighting, let's say, diversion of public resources, or how the country has put in place mechanisms to prevent and fight corruption in public institutions, how the country has put in place mechanisms for direct investment, foreign investments. Here, for example, what is measured by World Economic Forum, just to give the example. So all those indicators are aggregated, and of course, with experts in statistics, we can't say that the figure that we have, the 58 out of 100%, is 100 is accurate at 100%. No, it's an estimate, but this gives the broad picture how the country is performing based on their source of data and compared to other countries in the similar situation.
Edie, we've seen that Cape Verde and Seychelles come ahead of Rwanda. And of course, when you move on the streets there, we know that Rwanda is really considered to be free from corruption.
I don't think so. We are not free of corruption.
Otherwise
we would close our doors as Transparency International, the Office of Ombudsman, and other institutions.
That's like when you hear people talking about us, they tend to say that Rwanda is not corrupt. There's no corruption in Rwanda.
No, there is. We can't hide any truth in this regard. Otherwise, because corruption. The ranking, the CPI ranking does not measure a country free of corruption. It's more measuring the
level at which corruption is
prevented, is fought. The level how the country is equipped to prevent and fight corruption, the prosecution, the investigation, asset recovery, all those anti-corruption machinery, how are strong and enforced in the specific country. Otherwise, even the first least corrupted country like Denmark, it has 89%. So we have 11%, which is missing to have 100%, which means that is a portion of corruption. But again, Denmark is perceived as one of the best anti-corruption fighter worldwide through probably more proven internal systems to prevent and fight corruption. Of course, Rwanda, it is in the good, is in progress, positive progress. There are some loopholes. Probably we'll get back to what's need to be improved and redressed. But again, Rwanda is praised, especially the public institutions in charge of preventing fighting corruption are praised by zero tolerance policy and the enforcement of anti-corruption laws, but we can't lie anyone. We still have corruption in this country.
You talked about one of the criteria that they look at is also includes nepotism and prosecuting government officials that perhaps are engaged into bribery and corruption cases. So I don't know if you have figures, but I would love to know, first of all, how many, like this year, when you were doing this CPI, how many officials did you come to realize that were actually prosecuted? The second question would be, how are we fighting nepotism? You are the head of Transparency International Rwanda. And of course, I know there are things you look at and you tend to see the loopholes you just talked about. Nepotism, let me give you a simple example. Last week, I was talking to a relative and I asked him, did your wife get a job? Do you know what he said? He said, my brother, let me tell you one thing. In this country, when no one knows you, you're likely not to get a job. It is very hard. You can get a job, there is that chance, but the higher percentage will give it to someone you know. If you know someone...
It is not true. It is not true because I'm an employer as the executive director of TI. I know how the recruitment is done. Probably just to respond to this, to the question, the nepotism, this is a perception as well. You know that there is a research or a survey which was conducted by the Office of Ombudsman, and among other indicators or that have been measured, there is an indicator on the acceptability of corruption in the Rwandan society. It is high. It was about 6%. 6% of respondents who said it's normal to, if you are 6%. In a position to use it to recruit your relative, to give a contract to your colleague, your family member. So it's accepted in the society, even though
it is at 60% or 6?
No, six.
Okay, 6%.
Yes,
okay.
it's high. It's high because
Acceptance to corruption.
Acceptance to corruption. It's high. It means that if I'm in an institution like this company and you do wrong things, I find them is as normal because you are the boss, because you are the chief. While the law preventing and fighting corruption criminalize such behaviors, including the nepotism, favoritism, misuse of public office, and so forth. So for me, the challenge we still have is even the mindset, the awareness, mindset change in our society. We have very many years of bad governance, which culminated to the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, which I call personally as a result, a consequence of political corruption, because people were intoxicated and, of course, in a way that they found their neighbors or people with different to them as enemies, while the politician wanted to take advantage of this situation. So corruption, based on this background of our community, most of them now are getting old. We do hope that you new generation, you will be the changers, the drivers of change. But we still have this mindset that if I am in a position, I am allowed to do what I want, even though the law prevent me to do such wrong things. The good news is that the leaders who are in the position are aware that if they divert, they don't comply with what's provided by the law, they are prosecuted and even sued by the court. And this is why even Rwanda is improving in its scoring, because if when you are recognized or you are found guilty of any form of corruption that's measured or used, that are criminalized in the Rwandan anti-corruption law, the law of 2018, you are prosecuted and sentenced, and not very low sentence. It's minimum, it's 5 to 7 years, and even double if you are in the position of decision making. So I think we still have such mindset, such beliefs that if you don't have a relative, you can't have a job. I think what we need to work on our side. If you are, of course, the market, the employment is market employment is very, very low. The competition is high, so you need to be a performer best in your career or what you want to do, because the competition is high. So you will not need. Of course, there are some gaps. Some people who are somehow getting jobs due to such connections. But when detected and reported, the two parties are criminalized, both. The one who benefited of undue employment and the one who have misused the position to provide undue benefits, which is employment, they are prosecuted.
But as an expert in this field, if it were you, seriously, if we had to really curb down nepotism, because believe it or not, nepotism is one of the biggest challenges, because it is even very hard to track nepotism. It is we can't deny that it's really very difficult to track nepotism. But if it were you, how do you think Rwanda would really resolve the issue of nepotism? Sincerely, let's be sincere to ourselves just in this conversation.
Yeah, I think it's not being positively how having goodwill positively. No, they need some barriers or put the guidelines. There is, for example, in regard to the leadership, those who are in leadership position, there is a policy, leadership code of conduct, which is a policy which provides how, if you are in a leadership position, you have to behave. So this is one of the way to prevent or deter the nepotism behavior. The second one is the asset declaration of leaders who are entering in a leadership position. Of course, this is connecting to illicit enrichment or the embezzlement of public funds. But again, this is another tool, mechanisms that can help contribute to reduce the tendency to nepotism, because you can be or in that to nepotism by granting, let's say, a contract to your relatives or other forms of nepotism against by getting other benefits, including monetary benefits. So there are other things that are needed. It's reporting. We need a community of anti-corruption leaders, especially young people or the community as a whole, to report such behaviors of leaders. If I'm in an institution, I'm aware on what my boss is doing in terms of favoritism and nepotism to friends or family members. There are institutions who are dedicated to deal with such cases, the Office of Ombudsman, the Rwanda Investigation Bureau, or coming to TR Rwanda, and of course, with some proof of evidence, some examples. Let's say, you can say, we had to recruit, let's say, a technician, someone who's with IT skills, but due to relations or connection of
the
boss, we finally recruited an accountant. To deal with that. Of course, he can have some IT skills, but there are some prerequisites to enter in that position. So there are ways to prevent and decrease the likelihood of nepotism in institutions. And in Rwanda, I think they tried to put the legal and policy and institutional framework to try to frame or to limit any tendency to such bad practices, including the nepotism.
So the East Africa is not performing well. Apart from Rwanda that ranked or has a position of 41, Tanzania 40, I think Kenya 30, and Uganda 25. I think DRC is 20.
Yes, DRC is 20, and Burundi is 17. I was reminded that in East Africa we have as well South Sudan with 9.
South Sudan is at 9.
And Somalia 9.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Those are lower numbers.
It means there is no initiative against corruption. You
just give it the way you want.
Yeah.
So if you really to help us understand, why are these countries really deep down? I mean, like for instance, the country that is at 9 and Rwanda is at 41, you can see the difference is really very big. What can these countries learn from Rwanda that you think are key points if they are to fight corruption?
I think fighting corruption requires a political commitment. It's a political choice, and Rwanda has expressed his strong commitment to prevent and fight corruption. And I want to quote His Excellency what he used to say: "We have made united as Rwandans to think big." And of course, to be accountable. The accountability is one of the way to prevent and fight corruption, because we are aware that corruption happens when there is no accountability, no transparency, more discretion. While you promote transparency, accountability, and of course combined with the other mechanisms that I mentioned, strong legal framework. I want to, for example, to mention the current anti-corruption law, or Rwandan, the law of 2018, which replaced the law of 2003. I remember during the law of 2003, the corruption crime was only those form of bribe, especially bribery, while public misuse of public funds were not included in the corruption. I remember that the citizens in general and ourselves, we were saying you are protecting the big fishes.
The big fishes,
because the big fishes are the one who are accessing to the public funds, the public contracts. When there is a construction of road or a very big infrastructure, it's where money is flowing. So those people were not included in the corrupted cases. But in the review, the reform of the law, the now embezzlement of public funds, and of course illicit enrichment and other forms of misuse of public funds are included as one forms of corruption. So this reform brought other innovative ideas, including, for example, not criminalizing the victim of corruption when he reports or she reports before the investigation. This is very new, and I think we are followed by many people through your channel. I would wish to challenge other countries how, for example, if I don't have any other choice rather than paying bribe, but I report. Before Rwanda, the two parts, corruption giver and receiver, were criminalized until we advocated that sometimes you don't have a choice, you have to pay. But if you pay and you report, you should not be criminalized. But in many countries, it's criminalized.
So before you go further from there, today, we know we've had, I was going to say we know, but that's not a fact. We've had some people who give a bribe, and this bribe, they've planned it just to put others into trouble, or to betray their friends, or to, get the services they wanted and later turn and report. How do you ensure that the information you've got is not a wrong information, but an interest information?
Yeah, this is an interesting question. And I think I want to come back on the definition of corruption. Corruption is the misuse of untrusted power for your private gain. You have the power. You can't be in a power position by being naive. Someone comes and mislead you. I don't think you have your profile.
You are capable
to know what
identify
is wrong,
someone who is trying to mislead you or trick you.
I think this excuse is not relevant for someone who is in a leadership, in a power position. So you have to suffer the consequences. You know what is forbidden, what is accepted, what is unlawful, and what is lawful. So if you accept, there are sometimes there is a challenge of the limit. How far can I go? Especially based on some cultures. In some cultures, even here in Rwanda, people used to give gifts when there is a family event to social support. Sometimes people misuse this way of mutual support or social, cultural-based practices and can go beyond what is accepted. What is good is that the Rwandan law on leadership code of conduct has fixed a limit of amount of money that you can receive if you're in a leadership position. It's 100,000 Rwandan francs.
So 100,000 Rwandan francs.
Yes, it's what is accepted
as a gift.
As a gift that is not punishable by the law. But if it goes high, more than 100, you can declare to your authority, your supervisor. Anyone has a supervisor, his authority. If you are a CEO, there is a board of directors. You can declare this amount to your board, your chairperson of board of directors. They can decide if they allow you to take these gifts or if it is given to the organization. Because all we receive in our position, it's ED of an organization, or CEO, or a manager of an organization. It is not because it's me as a person. So this is why the legislator, the lawmaker, has to fix the limits. In some countries, I remember we are exchanging with some neighbors. They said, okay, on regard to asset declaration, we are only the office holder, if it's the husband or the wife who is in a leadership position is the one who is declaring. While here in Rwanda, it's the close family, the husband, if it's him who is in the leadership position, but he has to declare the property, the assets of the family, so that if there is a change, it can be tracked. So I think Rwanda tried to really tighten the risks of misuse of office. But again, as we said when we started, corruption
do you think that's a good thing? Because now let me just ask. Let's say I'm a CEO of one of the biggest institutions, government institutions, or maybe I'm a director of one of the institutions, and I misuse the funds. Do you think it's the right thing so that they seize all the properties of this family?
Yes. Because when you get undue benefits from embezzlement for misuse of public funds, you use to enrich your family, the whole family. So yeah, this is what is done by Rwanda. What's the law of asset recovery law provides. They come, they seize the assets, what you embezzled, and the products of the embezzlement fund, the embezzled fund. So it's the package, so that they discourage the future, those who will be attempted to embezzle or to misuse public funds. And some countries, the sanction goes even beyond. There is what we call the social sanctions. I heard that in China, when you are suspected, the suspects even decided to hang themselves instead of being stigmatized by the society that they are corrupt. They are corrupt because it's not tolerated in the community. I think even our community, in our society, we should move forward. But I think I am seeing such kind of behavior of Rwandans that they are not, if you are even suspected, not even convicted, the Rwandans start to take distance from you. They say, no, it's not someone that's...
By the way, that's very true. I've noticed that as well. Do you know that if you have a relative that has been convicted, they tend to ask you, they go deeper to know why was he convicted?
Yes.
What is the case?
Yes.
And it is very shameful. Some people feel like, I don't want to tell people that maybe I was convicted of this case. Maybe sometimes if it's a case that is resulting from business or other things that are normal, that perhaps most of people face, people feel okay. But when they realize that you are engaged into a case that is serious, people shy away from you in communities.
Yeah, and this is how it is. I'm seeing it when you hear someone who have been even prosecuted of corruption or convicted, and and served his term, to get a job it becomes difficult. Nobody want to have him as a
I think legally they cannot even get a job from the public offices. From government offices. Okay.
Yeah.
And also I've heard that in China, you mentioned about China. Do you know that I was speaking to a Chinese last year in September, and he told me that I was sending some money in China to buy some goods from China. And I told this Chinese friend of mine that I'm scared. I don't know this guy in China, and I'm concerned that perhaps he might disappear with my money. I was telling that to my friend Chinese guy who is here, my Chinese friend who's here. And do you know what he told me? He said, Arafat, don't worry. There is no Chinese who has a business, who has a family, who lives in China, that will disappear with your money.
That's it.
I was like, why? He told me that in China, once you are sentenced, prosecuted, you serve, your family suffers from that case for 4 generations.
Imagine.
For 4 generations. So it's like your son of your son, son of your grandson will never be employed anywhere in the government institution.
This is what we call the social sanction.
They will never, the guy told me 4 generations, they have to suffer the consequences of what you did.
Yeah, this is why probably they choose to hang themselves.
They choose to hang themselves and say, come on, I can't really let my kids suffer these consequences. So I think we are not yet there.
We are not yet, but, it's you see it. You see people to be rehabilitated in the community. It takes time.
It takes time.
It takes time, even though you finished, you served your term, and it takes time that the
welcome you back in the society.
Yeah,
it takes time.
I think people should think twice, because it's a shame. In any way, it means that even for when you are engaged in corruption practices, it's you ignore your promise, what you sworn for, you promise to the society. So, and the community, the society does not like the hypocrite, people who are not true in their what they say, what they do. I think integrity now pays more than.
But sincerely speaking, in the perceptions of Rwandans, we are somehow like at 80%. You see, in the perceptions of Rwandans, but in real papers, we are still very far to that percentage. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. When you see that we rank 41 globally, and we are at 58 score. 58 to 100, you see, we still have like 42, is it? We still have 42 to 100.
Yes.
And we still have 40 to be even at 1, to be in the first position. That is, to me, that is really a long way to go. That's a long way to go.
Yes.
But in the perceptions out here, when you hear people talking about corruption perception in Rwanda, people feel like we are like at around 80 or 85. I don't know whether you really get what I'm saying.
I get it, but I don't think it's what is happening. I saw some comments after the publication of CPI, and some comments on some articles that were published. People were saying, no, you were not accurate, corruption is high. But in terms, as a researcher and someone who is in the anti-corruption field, we compare. Transparency International Rwanda conduct on an annual basis another national survey known as the Rwanda Bribery Index, which is based on the perception and experience of Rwandans as far as corruption is concerned. And we saw a similar trend of decrease of corruption in Rwanda since 2022. The figures shows that in 2022, the corruption counter was 29.1%.
29.1%.
While in 2025, it dropped down to 14%. And the approach, how we conduct this research, completely different because, as I said, it's completely different to the CPI. It's experience based. It's Rwandans that we ask questions.
You talk to Rwandans, yes.
Yeah, who corruption counter offered or demanded perception, and we see that Rwandans think corruption is decreasing. But again, when you talk to the ordinary Rwandans, they will say, we still have corruption. They are not seeing, especially those who are encounter, especially at the grassroots level, at the lower level, in the local administration, when you want to access to a service on land services, authorization of construction, or renewing your land certificates. We still have some bottlenecks that's lead to perception and experience of corruption. We still see some corruption, public procurements. People are still facing, experiencing corruption. But again, it's very low at the low level. And the challenge is that they are not reporting. When you report, again, there is an indicator that we measure with the Rwanda Bribery Index, which that we call the impact of corruption in Rwanda. It is very low. The impact of corruption means when you are asked a bribe and you refuse to pay, is there any way and you report? Are you assisted and you get a service? When the impact is low, it means that when you report, institutions in charge of prevention and prosecuting corruption react immediately. So the impact is very low. But we still have corruption in some services that citizens are seeking in big numbers.
You're saying the impact is low, but when you look at the safety of the people, whistleblowers and people who report corruption, I don't know how you ensure that. How do you actually make sure that reporters, people who actually point to corruption, are safe? How is that really managed? Do you think you're happy with how it is being conducted?
We have usually, here in Rwanda, we have the whistleblower protection law. It is now, I think the last one is of 2011. Now it is under review to address some gaps, especially in protection of whistleblowers. But we have the law, it is there. But in practice, we are seeing that some whistleblowers are threatened by those who are supposed to protect. But in some cases, the whistleblower themselves are not protecting themselves. When they report, they go in the community and say, wait, I have reported him to Transparency, to Rwanda Investigation Bureau. You'll see what will happen. He's there, he's taking his beer with the neighbors, but he's talking another person in the neighborhood. So when the reported person knows that you reported him, it's the one who is threatening you. So I think we need to educate our community. If you give information, we have to keep it confidential. And it's the obligation of the lawmaker to protect you. So not to divulgate or to publish information about you. You have heard in some cases related to corruption or other form of crime where the prosecution even requests not to make the court case public due to protection of witnesses and whistleblowers. So the law, whistleblower protection law, is in place, but in practice we still have some cases. Even the cases that we receive and work closely with law enforcement institutions. After some days, months, person come back and say, I've been threatened on this specific matter. You see, when you report, again, there is such behavior and mindset. You should not report. You are saying someone who talk a lot, who is not, who does not keep secrecy, while you are denouncing bad practices. But the community, again, I come to the other indicator that I mentioned, the acceptability. They don't accept you. They say that you did bad things of reporting because the community is accepting is normal. So we still have some way to go in terms of educating the whistleblowers to keep their identity confidential, the lawmakers to keep identity of whistleblower confidential. Some lawmakers, some institutions, you report to him and when you are together, he start take his phone and call the reported person and say, I am with Arafat. He's saying, you misuse or there is this bad practice that you made. Those people are not somehow educated or informed on how they should protect. They do it innocently, thinking that it's a way of resolving the case.
The case,
but they are somehow
putting themselves in trouble.
They are exposing the whistleblower. So I think we need to work on those various aspects which still hanging or somehow hanging or preventing us to move fast as we want it. But the laws are in place, the institutions are in place, the goodwill is there, and we need really to build on this momentum to keep reducing corruption risks and practices in Rwanda.
Edie, we've heard quite from international reporters, international journalists, or even independent researchers from the global, from international organizations saying that most of the time we tend to forge our figures. We tend to have forged figures or statistics. And of course, saying that what we report is totally different from the lived experience of the citizens. What would you tell someone who is right now compiling a story or writing an article or even planning to comment on this CPI focusing on Rwanda, that what we reported or what you reported or what the country has put out or even the score that the country has today is not really right, is not true? What would you tell them? I mean, how would you convince this person that you're wrong? Because I'm sure, perhaps you'll give us some examples. I'm sure you've seen such cases. Even, I don't know whether there are some even reports that have really, people have criticized about you. But you will tell us, what do you think, or what do you tell this person to convince them that really these are correct statistics?
First and foremost, what I can say is that no country is immune of corruption. Corruption is a global threat. As I said, no country currently has 90%. Denmark has least corruption. Country has 89. So Rwanda, the same. It's in positive trend by keeping improving slowly. Currently at 58 out of 100%, the third at the continental level, with Seychelles, Cape Verde, and of course Rwanda to invest in Rwanda or to look for any business opportunities. So it's really evidence-based and it can't be forged. And it's conducted by a research team of Transparency International in Berlin. And the same, similarly for the Rwanda Bribery Index that we conduct on a basis. it's based on the experience of the Rwandan citizens. They talk. If they face any corruption cases, they say it. I think it's 2 days ago, one caller in radio call-in, a citizen reported corruption that he faced while trying to access on land services. So citizens, when they are provided opportunity to say, they say what they experience, what they live. So it is not really fabricated. It's not
forged
data. It's coming to the evidence or the basis of CPI. They look to the legal framework. I mentioned how Rwanda is really very equipped in terms and very, very robust laws. Rwanda is the very few among few countries who have make corruption non-prescriptable crime. A non-prescriptable crime, it means if you are suspected and you escape the justice, at any time when you are back, you are prosecuted, and they can be even the international cooperation to prosecute you where you are. So it's, I don't know, one could challenge me in their countries, if their anti-corruption is non-prescriptable. This is a message that showed that we want really to discourage corruption, because people were, in the past, it was between 3 to 5 years, and people were escaping. After 5 years, they come back and they enjoy the corruption benefits. The second that I mentioned is Rwanda has decriminalized the victim if they report corruption. In many countries, they are criminalizing both parties. Even you are a victim, you don't have choice. Rwanda has put special chambers to deal with corruption. Corruption became it's one of the top threats that are dealt urgently. So, and there are institutions, but more than the legal and institutional framework, the political will, it's very key. It's really very key. One can criticize the system in Rwanda, but the political way to fight corruption is in place, which is different to other countries. I want to, for example, to give an example where we were in a joint conference, because as I said, part of many and even colleagues in the region and globally. One was giving an example that in their country, due to corruption became systemic on 15th of the month. In many countries, especially developing countries, you start to get your salaries is somehow no balance on your monthly salary, and those are connecting investigator, prosecutor, judge. They put roadblock to arrest people, to collect money for additional funds for their topping up their monthly salary. So this is a systemic corruption practice. But here in Rwanda, you can't see such things. Of course, people are still involving and indulging in corruption, but we know that institution, law, and of course, the commitment for zero tolerance is in place. Those who are suspected, they are really prosecuted, sentenced, and they serve their term. And after, there is asset recovery. And I think it's last week where Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Justice was reporting to the Parliament for the last 3 quarter, it's 3 months, 6 months. That's more than almost 600 million Rwandan francs were recovered from corruption convicted cases. 600,000 were recovered in the last 6 months. So there is a continuous effort to tighten and to discourage any temptation to be involved in corruption practices.
In your statements, you've mentioned that government is effort to digitize services has really participated in the reduction of corruption in the country. To what extent has it really contributed to CPI of this year, digitization of government services?
It contributed in a way that, as you saw, CPI measured the bribery as one form of corruption. The bribery especially took place when a service seeker engaged the interaction with a service provider. Imagine what could be if, for example, requesting your birth certificate, you need to go to see on the sector officer to get a written paper. We are doing it online. And other many services, public services, that's contributed to reduce interaction between service seeker and service provider, and therefore the risk of corruption. So this is a reality, but we still have some services where
that was my next question. I wanted to really understand, as someone who are in this on a daily basis, what are some of the main services in Rwanda that ranks first in corruption, that have continuously failed to reduce their corruption levels, or maybe they've reduced but it still ranks the first?
Yeah, I think there's all services where there is high interaction between the service seeker and service provider, where there is still the contact between the service seeker and the service provider. Those services are still high in terms of a livelihood of corruption. Let me give the example that's
in Rwanda.
Yes, in Rwanda. Let's give you the example that is coming on a regular basis. For example, the way of rehabilitation of the construction site. People are complaining that those committees, because they need to, there is a committee of people who decide that this is your part, you engage with them. People are complaining that those people, some of them are not, do not have enough integrity. They may be for one part or another due to what they paid. So when there is such interaction, due to this surveillance camera, and of course the speed governor they installed in the car, and of course this what they call Sophia, those camera surveillance on the road have reduced the risk of corruption in the traffic police in general. So we can give many examples in other services. Of course, we still have some services that need to improve. And of course, we appreciate the reforms. For example, in construction authorization, there have been an issue of the system, even though the initiative was good to digitalize, but there was a loopholes where feedback was given to the engineer, and some engineers were not have no integrity enough. I got, for example, an example of one of project initiator who was living abroad, wanted to get construction authorization, and it's his engineer is the one who is keeping who he kept the authorization and saying, there are other things that are needed. You need to disburse 1 million, and this has been reported, and the engineer has been summoned and blamed because he was giving wrong information to his boss, because he was under contract with that person, meaning that there are some loopholes, and now this matter has been addressed in a way that for now, if you apply for construction permits, the information go to the engineer and to the owner of the property. You can track the progress on both sides. So, but before we arrived on that level, there are some victims that have been misused. You saying that's probably the authority won't bribe, while it is not the authority, it was the middle, the
middleman in between,
the middleman
who wants
between
to,
who wanted
yeah.
to take advantage of his role. Yeah.
So going forward, what would you want Rwandan citizens? What is it that you wish from Rwandan citizens to participate in or to do, so that perhaps our level or our scores or even our position can continue to go up? What can we do? What is it are we not doing, since it will be sincere?
Yeah, I think
Because the government will is there, we can believe it.
There are things to improve in even from the policymaker level. The goodwill is there, but we still have some limitations, some challenges. The challenges, for example, some policymaker or service providers are reluctant to provide information. Access to information is not smooth as we wished. Investigative journalism should be promoted and given opportunity to get to access information and report any wrongdoing. We need to strengthen bottom-up accountability, the citizens' voice, because citizens are the victims. They could be the drivers of change. If the check and balance, especially from the bottom to up, is enhanced, it can contribute to reduce the temptation of those who are in the service, in the value chain service provider. So we need to empower, to give more space, to give many choices for citizens to report, many places where they can report, to transparency, to other, but from the neighborhood. How can we ensure that wrongdoing is known? Because you keep in your bad behavior because you think nobody knows. But if we open and we empower the community, the citizens, and we give spaces for reporting, I think corruption will decrease. If we work on those level of accountability, bottom-up accountability, top-down accountability is working well, but we are still having the challenge. Another level where we need to work on is whistleblower protection, and of course encouraging the whistleblower to report. I think we need to come up with some innovative ways. I saw, for example, the Rwanda Revenue Authority, how they are doing to ensure people are issuing the EBM by rewarding those who ask the EBM. How can we innovate to encourage people to report
corruption?
Should we put in place some rewarding mechanisms to encourage people to report? Should we enhance awareness campaign? Because at the end, the loser is all the community. When corruption happens, we are all losers. So this is something that we need to work on. And of course, the media have a very important role to play in education, in reporting, especially corruption cases. And of course, keeping the zero tolerance to corruption and the community sanction, social sanction, so that we know that corruption in Rwanda, of course, it happens, but it's not tolerated, and it is seriously punished.
If you are to be specific, because I think there is a time you mentioned that corruption was too much in the police and in land services. To be specific, which areas today, which services today that ranks first, if you are to be specific?
If I want to be specific, I will blame especially the private sector, because in our various ranking, we are seeing that people who are accessing services in the private sector are the one who are more exposed to corruption due to discretion of the private sector, even though they are legally accountable. But if you have a company and you, in the recruitment, of course, it's your right. But if you recruit a young girl or a woman against sexual corruption, this is something that need to be addressed as a private sector community. The other area which comes at the top in our ranking, it's the construction sector. I think, and I mentioned it.
Really?
Yes. Getting authorization in construction or unlawful constructions. You know how the city of Kigali is struggling with local leaders who are closing their eyes to the
unauthorized people constructing their
to
houses.
construct unlawfully, but they can't close their eyes without getting any monetary benefits. They pay something and they make it as if they did not see it. So we still have such bad practices, but we praise some institutions. The Rwanda National Police made tremendous reforms. Of course, it's not zero corruption, but when we see how things changed, especially in the traffic police, when you meet the police officers in the traffic police, how now it's highly professional. They have a body camera. They are recorded. We have the camera, surveillance camera on the roads. We are seeing improvement in many sectors, but we still have corruption cases in some services, and of course what we can say, it's corruption is individual based here in Rwanda. It's not institutionalized. Some people think it's still normal to take bribe, to be involved in corruption, but very in few months, shortly, they are arrested and lose everything. So I think the best way to go is to respect law and do as provided by the law, provide good service, but in case there is bad behavior, I call the community, the Rwandan citizens and the people living in Rwanda to report. And at Tia Rwanda, we have a toll-free number, as I am online.
It's okay, you can say it.
We have 2641. Someone can call us and report, or access to our website. We have a reporting tool known as IFATE, www.ifate.org. Or you can call me. You can access on Tia Rwanda website, and all stuff are displayed, and our contacts, so that we can assist you. But the primary the responsible to deal on corruption cases are service provider, public institutions, Rwanda Investigation Bureau, the Office of Ombudsman, the prosecution, the Rwanda National Police, or anti-corruption machinery, which are in place. We are working together to try to prevent and, of course, educate the community, but when needed, prosecute and fight corruption in general.
So as we head to the conclusion of our conversation, going forward, what are some of the risks, or where do you see risks and tend to be scared, tend to be concerned if we don't work well on this, maybe we might slow down to the fight? What are those areas that you would want going forward that should be worked on hard so that we don't, or they don't force us to slow down? Because now, if we work together, I strongly believe, as you mentioned earlier, that citizens, the government, civil society, and everyone, if we work together, we can resolve this. Are there some areas where risks are still very high that perhaps they might be the causes of the delay in the fight?
I think as an anti-corruption actor, I think, and all followers, I am calling that we need to readjust our approaches, because the way corruption was committed 10 years ago is different now. For example, if we say that now in the corruption demand is no longer taking money, he's using technology. So we need to know these new ways of committing crime, corruption crime. So there are need of adjusting the approaches and, of course, sharing information. There is new area of corruption. We at TTR Rwanda, for example, we are working on corruption. Corruption is a barrier to environmental justice. If there is a construction of road, it's a public infrastructure, but we are seeing risks of expropriation, of under the quality, substandards of the quality of material used in the construction. So we need to educate the community to be the informants and be proactive and inform ahead. So I think now we are on another level of prevention and education, and of course adjusting the tools. If there is an expropriation and there is a kind of increasing the value of a property that need to be expropriated, the two parties will get benefits. The
property valuer?
Yes, the property valuer and the owner. So who could report the other party, the victim, who is the ordinary citizen who knows that he can report. If there is a substandard of the material, if the cement is stolen, you are seeing it, and they are using a supplement kind of, and you see it, you have to report. If a constructor comes and leave your property in a hanging level and you can't access to your property, it's your right to report it. I think we need to elevate our approaches, our way of building our country, our rights, protecting our rights, and of course ensuring the sustainability of what is done without leaving anyone behind, especially those with who are called them vulnerable categories, especially if you don't have vulnerable in terms of disability, in terms of economic vulnerability, in terms of your
financial status and all that.
Yes. So I think we need to change the mindset. The way now corruption is taking place in Rwanda, it changed. So we need to adjust our way of fighting corruption, especially bringing on board the community who are the victims and as well as the one who can contribute to fight corruption in this country.
Is there anything that while you were coming here, you felt like it's something that was deep down on your head and you wanted to say it? Is there something that perhaps we didn't touch that you can conclude our conversation with?
It's not a pessimistic note. I want to tell to those who are following us, we are living in a disrupted world globally. The governance system, the authoritarianism, the power holders are now becoming more powerful. So I think we need to protect our space. We need to protect our community. We need to make sure that the law applied to all equally. And of course, the decline of CPI globally shows that those holding the power are really misusing for their private benefits. And of course, Rwanda, even though we are performing well, We are not an island. We are integrated in the region, as you said. Our neighbors, how they are scoring, or regionally, African Union. You saw how the average for African Union countries, 32 out of 100. It's very, very low. I think we need to cooperate to agree that Africa choice need to be fighting corruption. Otherwise, we still stay in the as corrupt continent with economic crisis and of course poverty. So I think the choice of Rwanda is encouraging. I think we need to expand this best practices and try to go beyond our borders, work closely with our neighbors, and of course the community, East African community, and the continent as a whole.
Wow. We appreciate your time, seriously, and thank you so much for taking your time to come. To our viewers, we appreciate your time, and we see your comments. We see your, coming up to say we want this person back on the show, and we don't take that for granted. That is what we've had today on corruption with the Executive Director of Transparency International Rwanda. If you want something more to ask him, you can go down in our comment section and ask him. We'll ask him to respond to those questions. Bye for now.